we have the last session of our event, which enumerates the upcoming building materials and construction techniques. The speaker of the session is architect Manish Kumar Sharma. Hi, Manish.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah. I would like to see you. We all would like to see you. If you could switch on
Great.
your camera, please.
Just a moment.
Yeah,
I'm visible.
absolutely. Great. Architect Manish Kumar Sharma, who is currently working as the principal architect and valuer at OPM Architects Jaipur and playing active role at several organizations across the country. Manish has completed his, sorry, Manish has completed his graduate studies, having an intense self-involvement, learning and experiences in the Faculty of Architecture and Planning, JNU, and Masters in Bauhaus campus in Germany, and completed his research from Department of Energy Science and Engineering, IIT Bombay. Manish worked as a project architect and building design head in Team Shaurya at IIT Bombay, which is the only team that represented India in the Solar Decathlon China. Solar Decathlon is an international competition in which students design and construct a solar powered energy efficient house within 15 days at the competition venue. During this tenure, he served as a research technical assistant under Professor Rangan Banerjee, Forbes Marshall Chair Professor and head of the Department of Energy Science and Engineering at IIT Bombay. He grabbed runner-up trophy in Reinventing Gwalior, which was to design an art and culture academy and exhibition center. Team Shunya's excellent research and practical approaches secured the second position under judges' choice for Transform Maharashtra under the theme Smart and Smarter Development of Sustainable and Livable Cities. The continued hard work and dedication made him the A3 Foundation's Young Achiever Award recipient in 2017 for being the youngest architect in India with maximum achievements in 2017. Manish has conducted many different workshops and seminars at several universities for undergrad and postgrad students. Being the admin of the fastest growing social media page, Desi Indian Architect, he usually conducts online seminars, workshops, and software tutorials for the students and the professionals. He is currently serving as a TRG at Solar Decathlon India and doing his research for the sustainable future in architecture. In addition to this, Manish is a fellow member of Institute of Valuers India. He likes to try his hands on different musical instruments and poetry. It is a pleasure to have such a young and dynamic speaker with us. I request you to please take it from here.
So much for such a wonderful introduction. I think I'm the youngest one presenting here, so there will be many things that would be very new, and there will be many things that I'll be taking from Colonel Sir's presentation, because I felt that there would be a lot of inspiration from his presentation that I can represent and continue further. Thank you so much, sir, for presenting a beautiful presentation. Though I joined late, but I gathered a lot of information from your question answer session and last. Uh, just let me know. I'm sharing my screen, whether it's visible or not. My topic is upcoming building materials and construction techniques. So I try to make it very quick and simple and very short, so that you will be having a lot of understanding from the presentation, and you will be having a lot of understanding regarding what is coming in the future, what is coming new, and what you can adopt from the machine technologies. Yeah, so first, like when we are going with the future, when we are learning what is coming up in the future, we also need to know what is there in the history, where we started, and what is our inspiration, how did we start. Yeah, I think there is some problem. uh, are you all able to see my screen?
Yeah, it is
Hello,
visible.
visible? Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
Manish.
Yeah, so initially we all know that the buildings were made of all the basic materials, leaves and branches and animal hides and stones, and still we can see at a lot of places that the buildings are made of all these materials only, and they used to be all sustainable and all green, right? Then what was the need that we had to find out few materials, right? So the reason was the evolution of the human, right? We started from being a monkey to being a human who is working, like as I've shown, that working on the computer, right? So as soon as we started realizing that we are needing some kind of things, not just a shelter, we started evolving our materials as well, right? We started with the leaves and branches, then stone, clay, and timber, because shelter was not just a need. Then the human wanted privacy, the human wanted some kind of securities as well, right? Then we came to the bricks and concrete, as the Colonel Sir were explaining. Then we came on the bricks, concrete, wood, steel, and glass with the Industrial Revolution, right? So we started merging all the kind of materials to make the building aesthetic, to make the building beautiful, to make the building tall, and to fulfill all the needs of all the humans. So it instead of just the materials became something which can fulfill all the needs of the people. And from then only, from that moment only, we started going towards the future. And that was our first step, actually, from the Industrial Revolution, when we started learning how to mix and match different kind of materials to fulfill the need of the people. So initially, when we again started moving towards the future, it was not just a revolution. It was not just a revolution, it became something else. So we always have the question in our mind that what changes the construction techniques and building material selection? What happened that we need more materials? Why we need more materials and all, right? So the answer comes with the 3 pointers, which is research, innovation, and technology. Uh, yeah. So the research, innovation, and technology, and all three compromises with the scale of time, cost, and efforts. So you need to save a lot of time for the contractors. You need to save a lot of time for the people who are buying your houses. You need to save efforts of your laborers. You need to save the cost of the contractor, and also the cost of the end user, right? So what we do, we are continuously upgrading with the technology, and we are continuously searching for something new which we can incorporate in our building technology and construction techniques. So if I give you a brief idea about what is the expenditure we are doing continuously on the construction related activities. So the research says that globally we are expending over 10 trillion per year on the construction related activities. And that is projected to keep growing by 4.2% until 2023. So there was a huge need of finding something new, because we cannot restrict ourselves to just stone, brick, and concrete. There was a need of finding something new. And man has certain limitations. A man has certain capacities to find something. We need machines afterwards. So McKinsey, a very well-known MNC company, kept its focus on something which is called artificial intelligence and machine learning. So according to me and according to many of the contractors and big MNC companies, they feel that the machine learning and artificial intelligence is the future of construction technology and the material science. Then we have the question that what is artificial intelligence? Not just having some kind of filters and popping of your faces, doing the lip sync on Instagram and Twitter and everywhere else. It is something beyond than all these kind of things for us, especially for the architects and for the contractors. So, AI in the construction has the potential to help players realizing value throughout the project life cycle. I'll be highlighting the major points here. So it says the project life cycle, which is very important for the entire project, because you need to know that what would be your project, what is the length of your project, your material selection, your design process, how much you will be bidding, what would be your finances, how you're going to procure the materials, how you're going to handle the operations, how you're going to manage the labors, how what you're going to do when the schedule overruns, when your project overruns with the cost and everything. So a lot of thing, and you can imagine how many people you will be needing. Hello.
ड्रॉइंग इथे फर्स्ट मी आता त्यांची मार्कलिस्ट बघणार होतो.
Hello.
Yeah, Manisha can carry on.
Someone is saying something.
No. That would have been by mistake. I've handled it. Thank you. Carry on.
Okay. So, a lot many people would be needing to take the data of everything, and then just imagine when you will be, compiling all the data, then all the kind of mistake happens. As the Colonel sir was showing at the last that there was some mistake in the drawing. There were many of the mistakes in the working drawing, and the laborers and the contractors have casted the mistakes as it is on the floor, right, on the site. So, how we can prevent all these kind of things? So, humans, especially we on, alone, or we as a company cannot do it. We need machines. We need a lot many things more than human and more than our traditional construction technology. So, if I talk about that, what is artificial intelligence? Because I'm continuously talking about our AI and ML. So, how we can use AI and ML in construction? Because as my topic is the upcoming building materials and construction technology, I feel that we all knew that we are working on different kind of softwares. You must be working on AutoCAD. You must be working on SketchUp. You must be working on Rhino and Grasshopper. You must be using some other, BIM related softwares as well for your building designs. So artificial intelligence, machine learning is helping a lot for a lot many people and companies. So we see Zaha Hadid architects, we see BRK Angel architects, we see many other architects, Norman Foster and other Franco Gehry, and we see that how they are able to do such kind of buildings that we cannot even imagine. Even if we are able to imagine that, we are not able to build it on the ground. So there is something which is helping them, which is called artificial intelligence and machine learning. They have taught their machines in such a way that they don't need to do anything. They just write one simple code word and the entire land gets a layout completely. And this is practical. People are doing it. I myself is trying my hands on this particular thing. How it helps you for the construction, how it helps for you in finding out the new materials. So what are the helps that you can get from the AI and ML machine learning? So the very first help that you get, because you know about Ravana, right? Ravana had 10 heads, right? So in the same manner, AI also has 10 heads, thinking in the different directions. So one of that is preventing your cost overruns. So you have most of the mega projects that go over budget. Despite employing the best project teams, you deploy artificial intelligence to predict cost overruns. On factors such as project size, contract type, their competence level, their how to deploy the project manager, what labor would be suitable on what places. How many rupees you have to deploy for one particular activities. So your AI would be managing all, and it's not like something new. This is what you are doing with a small software called Excel as well. Tally is also such kind of AI which has been developed in such such manner that now it is something else, more than Tally and more than Excel. Now we are using a lot many things for managing our project and to prevent our cost overruns. Then we can use the AI for better design of building through generative design, right? So I was talking about BIM, where we can make plan very efficiently. We can design, construct, and manage building and infrastructure. So a lot of big architects and even the small firms have started using the BIM, which is called Building Information Modeling. So all the BIM softwares, like even SketchUp is going on the BIM, Rhino, Grasshopper, your Revit is there, Dynamo is there. All we are using to find out the new construction techniques and how they are useful. Because if we are working on the working drawings manually, there would be chances for the clashes. But all these softwares actually tells you that the clashes are occurring and you need to change some kind of layout, you need to change some kind of design so that you can prevent the clashes. When you are going parametric, when you are going beyond the limits of shapes and design in architecture, you need certain kind of limitation, you need certain kind of directions to go efficiently towards the proper designing and execution part. So your BIM, Building Information Modeling, helps you in doing that. Now people have started moderating. Like if I give you the example of Zaha, the architects, they have their separate AI for the BIM. So if they are writing some kind of codes, if they are writing some kind of code words, for an example, if I give you a very short quick example, I took a floor plan of a very normal house layout, and in the AI coding, I just write that I want it to be dynamic, I want it to be the parametric, I want the mix match of different kind of materials, which could be concrete and glass. The result would be given by the AI. It would be absolutely correct without any clashes. And this is happening currently everywhere. even few of the firms like Norman Foster and Zaha Hadid, especially the AI team, have completely shifted their focus towards the AI for the better design of buildings through generative plans. So this is what you are doing, but simply if you somehow incorporate few of the codes that you can download, and that I'll be explaining as well, you can get more better results, and they would be telling, the AI would be telling you about each and every material, each and every construction technology that you can use without any failure. Then AI helps you for the risk mitigation. So we know that every construction project has some risk that comes in many forms, such as quality, safety, time, cost risk. The larger the project, the more risk. We know that there will be many kind of activity, multiple activities going on. So there would be parallel jobs at the site. So there are AI and machine learning solution today that general contractor are using to actually prioritize the risk areas. They deploy AI robots, they deploy AI technology for the risk specific area, so that they can actually they can actually give the notification to the laborers who are actually doing the work on the risk side, if they are not following the safety guidelines, if there is something which might bring the risk factor in your design. Suppose you are casting a column, there is some kind of mistake in your column, and then it would tell you that in the future, after 5 years or after 1 year or after 7 days, there would be certain kind of cracks. So manually, if you are human, you cannot detect all these kind of things, but AI can do this. So this is a kind of future where we can actually manage the risk. Then the project planning, right? So we know that the construction intelligence company. So there was a construction intelligence company in 2017. They actually deployed robots on the site to do the complete project planning. I'll be showing you a short video afterwards, after the presentation, how it happened. And the company was Norman Foster, an architect. They got merged with Trimble. Trimble is your SketchUp producer. So they got merged with Trimble and Boston to design robots that would be on your site, designing the entire layout, doing the entire contouring, and suggesting you which material to go with, and suggesting you about the site topography, what would be the orientation of the building, how you can actually bring the sustainability factor in, how you can use such kind of material that would be generating more energy, using less energy from the grid and generating more from towards the grid. And they would be telling you each and everything regarding the site, from construction to the post-construction level, right? And then AI makes the job site more productive. So there are companies that are offering the same kind of robots to your sites, even if the site is small or site is big, right? So that part can actually counterpart human efforts. So suppose you are having the team of 100 or 200 people or 300 people in your team, and all those people, because employment is also necessary, so you can pay those people to actually bring in the business, and then the rest of the thing would be done by the AI and all these kind of things. So eventually, if you look at the project cost at the end, that would be similarly, and then also it would work as your domain, or you can say your USP. Then AI for the construction safety, as I was talking about, most of the construction sites having a lot of area, a lot of laborers, a lot of teams working at the different location. You need certain kind of safety factors. So mostly company, they hire a lot of people from the safety background, and they deploy on the sites. Still, there would be a lot of news coming up, like hundreds of labor got killed in the site, at the site. Many got injured and all. So AI would be actually guiding them to walk, to talk on the site, to how they can actually move on the site. So to following the factors from the AI, they can actually make the construction more productive and safe, right? Then AI will actually address your labor shortages. Suppose you are having a very huge site, so they actually evaluate your job progress and the location of workers and equipments, that enables project managers to tell instantly that which job needs what kind of labors, which job needs how many of the labors, and which job would be done in a shorter time if you deploy this much of the labors only. So AI is also helping for the companies to actually tell them that how many labors they need. Then the off-site construction, construction companies these days are actually relying on the off-site factors, where actually robot pieces are guiding them for the building, that what could be done. Imagine you have a lot of debris. Imagine you have a lot of construction waste on the site. So it would be guided by the AI as well, the robots as well, to where to manage all these kind of things. There would be a lot of electrical equipments, HVAC equipment laid on the site. So everything would be managed through AI. Then, as I was talking about, that if your site is big, there would be a lot of activities going on. So imagine if we are 60 people here and you start speaking one by one, or you start speaking together, it would be very difficult for Tulika to gather all the information. And most of the time, one person or two person, or you can say 10 people would be left without even asking the question. So imagine if we can actually generate such kind of thing that can generate, that can gather all the information together. Like this software also has the system, right, where you can write everything on the chat, and then Tulika would be reading afterwards. So you don't need to speak at a time. And this is actually saving a lot of time for the speaker, for Tulika, and for the organizers as well, right? So in the same manner, when we are having a site, there would be a hell lot of data generated through the construction. Lot many people would be providing a lot of information. So AI would be shortlisting, filtering the information, calculating in such a way that it would be useful. Only the useful information be used for the contractors and for the architects. And as I was talking about the post construction, so when the project, your complete project is completed, then a lot many things happens. Like we generally have the contract where architect would be the owner would be holding some amount of the contractor and architect, that after 5 years or after 2 years something happens, there should be something, so that you can repair it or you can do it. So the AI, your robots would be detecting all these things and would be repairing everything on the site as well. So you can actually get rid of all the stress that you would be getting after post construction. So just give you a brief idea regarding what would be the future of AI in construction and in architecture. Just imagine you are having a building cost which is 100% for an example, and if it is cutting down by 20%, still you are having the same amount of labor. Still it is cutting down because you don't have any kind of waste, you don't have any kind of injuries at the site, you don't have any kind of lawful activities at the site. So architects and engineers can actually virtually go to the site and explain the entire thing to the laborers. They can go to the site and explain the thing to the owner, right? They can, before making any site or before starting any site, they can go and they can give an idea of what the site would be, what site would look like, right? So this is something that can actually work as your USP, because nowadays every single architect which is going higher and higher, having some kind of design strategy or some kind of USP that he can present to the client or to the general public as well. There is no one who's doing normal work and getting famous. So you also need to somehow update yourself in such with such kind of technology. Like nowadays, if we are talking about architectural education, where people are applying for the architectural jobs and making their portfolio, many of the firm they write specifically that Rhino and Grasshopper knowledge is mandatory, Revit knowledge is mandatory. So by actually learning, because why they need all these kind of things to cut down their some cost. All this software actually tell you about each and everything with detail of the site. Then you would be having no clashes. There is no chance of having any kind of clashes, whether you talk about your MEP services, whether you talk about your other architectural services, and whether you talk about your construction techniques, technology, and post-construction strategies. There would be no time. And then also it provides you the freedom of having the real-time interaction with workers and machineries. And even your machineries go on the site and do all the work. So if I give you an example of what AI generated machines are doing, that nowadays they are pouring concrete by themselves. They are making, some kind of 3D houses. They are doing all kind of work without any instruction on the site. So how it happens? The same way, like we start from the first year. If you are start our journey from the first year, and then second year, third year, fourth year, and fifth year. When we complete our thesis and when we join the firm, we have the idea of about how to draw the line. In the same manner, we never teach our machine. Our machine also has the same capability. When if we are teaching the machine day by day, at the end of the day, it would be taking the decision by itself. So I give you an example of where it is happening in India. Delhi Development Authority. So in the AutoCAD only, they have provided the feature of AI. What we used to do, we used to make the plan and get the approval from the authority, right? Now the AutoCAD has the feature that if you are drawing anything beyond the boundary or beyond the setback, that line would be drawn. So if the line is not coming on your AutoCAD drawing, obviously you will be taking it in the setback only. If you are crossing the elevation, if you're crossing the side and the elevation envelope, it won't be drawn. So in the same manner, just imagine that you can actually cut down the efforts by the government official, and then you can simply submit the drawing, which is already approved on your CAD only. So this is possible through AI only. Now we are moving very fast towards the future. We have the question in our mind that how we are getting all the kind of things, right? So I'll give you a few of the examples that actually Indian people are doing. I was so much in hurry that I actually forgot to put my own project. So that we have done in China. So I gave the example of IIT Madras project. I also worked somehow in this. So this was India's first 3D printed project done by the IIT Bombay students. The total square feet area of the project is 2,000 square feet. There was not any single clash, and the project was completely made in just 5 days. And you can imagine the complete square foot of the area, right? So imagine the project that we of 2,000 square feet that we that takes around 6 months or 7 months for the completion. It's taking only 5 days, and the pre-working also was done in 1 month. So imagine that how much we can go with the AI, and everything was done by the robot. There was not any single labor working on the site. The robot went to the site. They 3D printed the entire house. Only the few of the finishes that we see, like windows and everything, was done by the vendors and the laborers on the site. Then the technology started, and there were normal people who started taking the help of 3D printing house and AI technology for the houses. And these houses were not only 3D printed, but they were also having material simulation to cater the sustainability factor, to cater the zero carbon footprint, to cater the energy goals as well. And then material limitations started ending. So initially we were using the concrete and the sand and cement for the 3D printing houses, but there were few examples where people just used mud, right? And the complete work was done by robots. So you can imagine that you just give instructions to the robot and they'll be doing your complete work on the site. And this is not limited to only single story. There are many examples that people are going beyond. Even in our project, it was 1,800 square feet. I'll be giving you just a simple brief by going to the website after the presentation. But I'll tell you about the project. It was under IIT Bombay and HRD Ministry of India. So Team Shunya was the team which was selected for the Solar Decathlon China, and we were given we were having a task of making a self-sustainable net positive house that would be giving the energy to the grid in just 11 days. Like 11 to 15 days was the target, and every single country, almost 30 countries have taken the participation, and the Honorable Prime Minister, HRD Minister, and also the MNRE Minister visited the house in China as well. So we done the complete thing. The time limit was 15 days, but we were able to make the entire house in just 11 days because the entire key work was done in AI, and all the simulation, we used all the software that is possible for the faster construction, and then making the house which is net positive and self-sustainable. You can imagine what we can achieve in the future. Right. So this is the research by the World Economic Forum that by 2030 there would be 3 billion people would be needing the improved housing. If we calculate the total amount, that means we need 96,000 houses per day, right? So just imagine, would you be able to do with the labors and with the current technology that you are having? Because imagine, like, if it is 1 house or 10 house or 15 house, still it is possible. 96,000 houses per day, and that also for the people who are actually needing the house, then it becomes really impossible. then you actually need certain kind of things. So this is the technology that you can go with. So imagine if the house was done in just 5 days. So you can somehow, reach the goal. So then I'll give you the, not points for the 3D printing technology. So the average age of any 3D printed house would be 50 to 60 years. The materials that we use are the same that, we are using for the traditional construction technology, but the kind of chemical and the kind of the admixtures that we use enhances the durability of the entire project and an entire, the house duration. Then the 3D printed house actually saves the cost by 20% of the regular concrete homes. So I have a question for you guys. You can answer it now as well, and you can answer it later as well. That what kind of materials that we can use for the 3D printing a house? There would be many materials nowadays, but I just want after the chat, after the presentation, we'll be having all your answers in the chat box. That what kind of materials instead sand, concrete, and cement. What else we can use for the 3D printing a house? So this was a short brief of what AI and ML can do, for the construction technology and the material selection, right? So as I told that it's not a rocket science that you cannot learn. It starts with your laptop. So there are many platforms, there are many things that you can actually start working now only. So imagine that this software, if I talk about the Zoom, right? So sir gave the presentation, I am giving the presentation. Every information somehow is getting stored, right? Then there would be new upgradation in the Zoom according to the problem that we faced, according to the problem you must have faced, according to the problem they would be having through the internet, through the connection, and accordingly they upgrade themselves. And it's not the people who are upgrading, it's the machine that is automatically upgrading, right? And if I tell you how we can start doing it, so a normal example I'll give, like when you start working on the SketchUp, you must be knowing about SketchUp and AutoCAD. When you start working on the SketchUp or AutoCAD or Revit or any kind of single software, when you start drawing and when you start working, after once you when you initially open it, it takes a lot of time, and then you start opening it again and again, the time gets reduces, and even your working gets improved. Your efficiency gets improved. It's not it's somehow the efforts of your also like you are learning it, the software in a well manner, but also your machine gets improved in such a way. So there are many architects who are actually using and actually identifying and exploring some of the futuristic material. I'll give you the few examples. So these all materials that you can search on the internet as well. These all materials are were the need of the future, were the need of the project of some architects, and somehow their AI technology only identified all these kind of materials and suggested that where it could be used and what kind of benefits it can provide to the construction site, right? So self-healing concrete is the output, and the 3D graphene is the output. Your aerographite is the output. Like so, we send the satellite to the space and all. So initially, now the dead load we are increasing. We are increasing more satellite for the rockets. So we need to reduce down the load, the complete weight of our rocket. So we can the scientists have found by sending again and again, by learning through their previous mistakes or through their previous success, that what else they can do with the thing so that they can incorporate more satellites, right? Then laminated timber, which is lighter than the wood and stronger than the wood. Then there are some modular bamboos. Then there are some light generating concrete. So this is also very interesting material. It generates light. So basically, it reduces down the requirement of your light that you provide in the area, in your room or everywhere that you are using the concrete. And when you go, with the bigger scales, though these materials are very expensive and these materials are not easily available, but when you go with the scale, you can easily incorporate this material somewhere around with the same cost that you're using the normal things. And all this material, I'm not explaining all this material because all the information are available. My task was here to actually give you a brief about how you can explore new materials. And I'll be giving you the short, short overcome of that particular thing as well. So these are the materials that you can anytime Google on the internet. So the results, if I talk about the result of what major architects around the globe have used and how they have used these kind of materials, what helped them, in using all these materials was simply AI and their machine learnings. So this is the project by Zaha Hadid. You can see all the conceptual sketches also for some kind of project. This is the project by BRK Angels Architects. There are few projects that were completely done on the BIM, building information modeling, which is completely based on your AI and machine learning. So according to me, we can have a lot of manual work, but still the possibilities are with the calculation only. So you can, have your construction calculated. You can, somehow start teaching your machine in such a way that afterwards, after some times, it automatically gives you the result that how you can choose different kind of construction technology, how you can go with the different kind of materials, and now you all must be thinking that I spoke a lot about AI and ML, then how we'll be able to use it as a student or as a faculty or as a scholar. I'll be able to use. There are platforms, which teaches you the AI and ML. So Google Colab is one of the leading platform. Actually, you can go to the Google Colab, and there are different kind of applications that you can use, and these are not very difficult. These are very simple, and by learning, as I told, here you will be learning less and your machine would be learning more. So if I give you a simple example of my particular system, on my page, a lot of people ask me that what kind of system you use, because I use almost 8 softwares together, but my system never hangs because I've started using some kind of machine learning to it, and that you can also go with. So, and by the time the machine got to know that the person would be using 8 different softwares. This is the same thing when you are exploring the internet and you are looking for a wallet, and then the wallet would be coming everywhere on Instagram and Facebook, because it has somehow got the sense that you're looking for a wallet. In the same manner, if your machine would get to know that you will be using a lot many software together, it start learning in such a way. But you need to make your machine learn. So Google Colab is the platform where you can start teaching your machine in such a way that whenever you will be planning, it would start telling you that this is the output you can get. So this is your output, and this is what I am suggesting. Also, you can just write, or you can just do the bubble diagram. You can just make the bubble diagram, and the machine would be telling you the exact floor plan. And this is not something which is hypothetical. This is practical, and people are doing. And I'll be showing you an example of what I have done as well by using this platform. I started using this platform 6 months ago, and now I know that certain amount of knowledge that I've gained, and my machine have also gained, that if I'm putting any kind of photographs in my coding now, so it starts merging it starts telling me the new possibilities that I can go with, right? So Google Colab is the platform that you can use for your machine learning, your AI and ML. And trust me, if you go with certain kind of technology, imagine you can just present your entire thing without even going to the client. You can let him know or let her know that this would be the place where you will be placing a chair. This would be the place where you will be placing a table. And then also you don't need to work on SketchUp. You can simply, put like drag and drop a chair there, right? So many of the companies like Asian Paints, Berger Paints have started using the technology where you click the picture with your tab and you can put the colors. These all are AI and ML. So it is reducing the efforts of architects and interior designer. And this is what we call the future. And what kind of coding you can go while learning. I just want you to note down all these things so you can search, because this is so vast that even if you start learning today, you can end up the entire thing, and it might take 10 years, it might take 5 years as well. So I just want you to write all these key points so that you can search on Google, and you can get the you can get the understanding of what is the possibility and what is the limit. I feel there is no limit for the thing, but still you can have an idea that where we can go and where we are lacking. I as a I did my graduation from India, but I still feel that there is a lot many things where I'm lacking. And if I had the knowledge of all this kind of thing, I would have done wonders in just few years of my professional practice. So StyleGen is a platform, then Pix2Pix is a platform, and all these platforms are actually used to make your machine learn. So this is all where you can actually upload a lot many images in the code, and then your system would be understanding or recognizing each and everything. Just the way when you're clicking your picture and it recognizes where your eyes are, if you are smiling or not, it recognizes that if you are smiling, it has to click the picture. The same manner, if you are using some kind of material which is not matching with the client's expectation, if the client has in his mind that he has to go with the mustard color or with the red color, he wants to go with the concrete, he wants to use the concrete with the glass, then your machine would be actually telling you that you are going with in some other direction and you need to go in this direction, and this is possible. Then you can use the bicycle gen, and then every single thing is available on your Google Colab. And then there are certain other applications also where you can actually learn the machine learning. Right? Lobe is the application. It teaches you machine learning from the beginner level to the expert level, and every single time, because as I told that you will be learning less and your machine would be learning more. So by the time when you will be finishing off, the machine would be telling that this is what also it wants. And the Mimo Android app is there for Python. So a bit of Python knowledge is necessary, though you can use the codes from the very expert people. On Google Colab, Zahadid Architects also has put some kind of code, codes which you can download and use. But Mimo Android app is the app where you can actually learn a lot of tricks and technology for the Python, and then the machine learning would be more easy. And if you are learning the Python, it would help you in learning the Grasshopper and the Dynamo as well. And you know that the Grasshopper and the Dynamo is the need of the future, because if you want to avoid the clashes, if you want to avoid everything, and I'll also take the point of what sir was telling, that people need to sit, explore, and debate with each other and making the drawings and decision. So Python, Dynamo, and all these kind of softwares where you don't need to sit with each other, you just need to make the drawing, and it would be telling you each and everything, but that here is the problem, here is the clash is happening, and also it would be telling you that your contractor on the site is doing something wrong. And it is where it is useful. It is useful for the exploring the new construction techniques. So you can explore different kind of construction techniques. You can actually explore and do interventions with the different materials. You can experiment with the different kind of building shapes. And first, before asking any question, I'll be showing you few of the example of what machine learning can do. Just let me know if you're not able to. Before I start that, I'll ask, like, am I audible and the video is visible?
You are audible, Manish, but there's no video as such. We can just see the PPT slide.
Okay, wait a second. Now is it visible?
Yeah, now it is.
Yeah.
It's not audible if it has got sound.
Is it not working?
The video is
Hello?
playing, but there's no sound in it. While you
okay,
share,
am I audible? Am I audible? I'll be explaining the video.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah, so this is the technology that Fusion partner using these days, this robot, which is made by Trimble and Boston in together to provide to certain contractors and big architects. So what does it robot do? So imagine that it is on the site and going with the visiting partner from the Fusion partner. Now the site is under construction. So you will be sending a team of architects to recognize the faults and defaults in the construction, like while casting the building and while casting the concrete. This robot would actually generate every single detail of the building, that where is the your reinforcement, now where is your wall, and what kind of materials that you need to put. And this is not a hypothetical video, this is actual video where it is actually mapping the entire thing of the building. And then you don't need to generate the drawing. The robot would generate each and every single thing, whether you talk about your CAD, whether you talk about your 3D models, and then also would be telling that the problem lies in this particular area. And then also it would manage all your safety factors. and every single thing. The current situation that you can see is also an AI generated model where the person is presenting. The technology is letting him explain that, you know, what areas are comfortable and all. But the complete thing was done by this robot. You can see. So that 3D model which was in front of the guy was actually mapped by this robot. I'll share a few more things. Wait. Are you able to see this picture on the screen? Hello?
No, Manish. It's the video window itself.
Hello, are you able to see this screen? The picture on the screen? This is not a video.
Manish, we can only see the video window, not the image window.
Wait a second. And now?
Yeah.
Is it visible?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So this was the model that created. Actually, you can see that while giving the presentation to the client, we think first and then we start. Like, this is a good thing that you learn by learn by doing. Yeah, the learning by doing should be there. But there is one more method. So when I was doing my master's, I had the same kind of learning from one of my professor. So there are always two different typology approaching towards your project. One is Gorilla and one is Guru. So the Guru would be actually first doing the exploration, first doing all the research work, and then going with the real site work. And the Gorilla would be approaching by doing first and then learning from it. Like, he'll be either making mistake or doing making a successful thing, and then also would be learning from the same thing. So the Guru and Gorilla are the two techniques that you can go with. So here in the AI, actually every part would be done prior, with 100% accuracy, and then you can also some kind, you can merge the things and present in such a manner that your client would also be impressed. So there are three different images that I've used. So I was about to present a concept of a modern museum. So because I was having very less time, and then also I wanted to present completely different output. So there is one more interesting thing in AI is that every single output would be different than the previous one. There would be no similar thing that you will be getting. So every single project would be having some kind of different approaches and different visuality. So this is why the most of the prominent architects, they have same typology of the construction and aesthetics, but every project would be different than the previous one. So I have used three images, and then I have somehow combined all these images. Wait, let me, yeah. Wait, give me a moment, please. Let me open. Yeah. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, Manish.
Yeah. So the output of combining all these three images was this. Yeah. So you will be having an idea of now, can you see this image? So I've used one of the image from the internet. Like, all three images are from the internet, but what command I gave to the AI were the people, museum, parametric, and also calm, like the peaceful environment. So automatically it generated output, and then you can see that it's not just one. There are thousands and millions of outputs together. You can just freeze the frame and start drawing. and make other AI platform work on the particular thing for making the drawing. And there are a few more examples that I'll be showing you. So this is what you can do. And by making your machine learn more, you can actually also get to know about what kind of material to go with. So you need to put in the Revit also, we do the same thing. We put the material properties in terms of bending, in terms of their physical properties, and then it automatically applies the material in such a way that there would be no waste, there would be no tear and shear, and the application would also be very easy and simple. So in a similar manner, I gave the same command. This entire video that you saw was made out of 4 commands. One was museum, second people, third exhibit, the calm area, and the third was parametric, right? And it generated the automatic output automatically. But for that output, I had to train my machine with almost 900 different kind of images of the similar typology. And then I'll be showing you a few more things. Are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, Manish.
Yeah. So there was a competition from the gardens of the world, and in the competition, Aniket Bhagwat sir from the Landscape India was also involved. So the brief was to design a garden while using the different kind of garden, garden methodology and typology around the globe. So I took the theme of taking the inspiration from the past and going till what is available till now, and then I combined all the images and I got the output like this. So there were many images and the output was something like this. So I can freeze any of the frame and I can get different layout. There won't be any kind of similar output, right? So imagine how many how many layouts I can generate. So it won't be one, and how much time it takes, 5 minutes for me. And I'll show you one more example of it. Yeah. In a similar manner, when I thought of designing a public space. Yeah. So I thought of designing open public space. I actually combined a lot many images of public space, vistas, gardens and people, and the output was this. And you can see that I'm getting different kind of layouts. And imagine that if it is built on the site as it is, then what would be the view of the area. So you need to, all these images are now blending in while making a public space. Now, this is where we, we are concentrating on the design part. Then the software that you are using would be taking care of your execution part as well. So in the similar manner, I feel my personal findings are that, you can go with many technology, but I feel that the AI is the future that you are looking for. And by using AI, actually, you can explore many materials and many of the other things without any break and without any kind of clashes or without any kind of failures. And every time there would be something new and exciting. And this particular thing can become your USP as well. So you don't need to restrict yourself in making a very simple building because you don't know how to go with the curves, how to go with the parametric things, how to go with the things that not in your hand. So all the architects, they are not doing some wonders with their software. They are actually making their machine learn more in such a way that they are getting the things generated automatically. So there is n number of possibilities in finding each and everything. And AI, if you use use the machine learning, you can actually find and you can combine many materials. Imagine there were just images. Imagine that if you combine the properties of different materials with the properties of their weather condition, properties of their different affecting factors, then you will be having a set of different kind of materials as well that you can apply. And then also they would be with while having all the things in mind that waste nahi hona chahiye, nothing should be happen. the labor should be able to apply the material on the site in a proper manner. So everything would be done. So AI is the future of material and construction technology. I end my presentation here, and I'm open for the questions if you have any.
So yeah, it was an enthralling session, Manish. Thank you so much.
Can I add one more thing, Tulika? Can I add one
Yeah,
more thing,
yeah.
Tulika? You were asking me to show, I was telling to show the Team Shunya project, right? So I'll just give you the
Yeah.
brief of what we have done.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So this was the team of engineers and architects. There were 2 architects and 30 engineers from IIT Bombay of the different streams. And we somehow collab together, like while we were from the same college, we collabed together and went to China to actually showcase India's solar technology and was the strength of India. All these people you can see are from the different country presenting their solar technology. So like we have the Khelgaon in Olympics, the village, the sport village, the similar manner we had the solar village for the construction. So here our construction container arrived from the India, and we started making the building on the ground. So we used every possible, every possible technology on the site because we were only 30 students and there were no professional allowed for making a construction. So imagine a building of almost 100 ton, completely done by 30 students. And there was no any single welded connection. Every single thing was done by bolting. Yeah, so this is our structure. We erected the complete structure in just 1.5 days. So the thing you can see was done in 1.5 days. There were almost 50 plus columns and different kind of 108 slabs connecting with each other. And every slab has pre-casted services. So we just had to connect the slab over site, and everything was done. Like, so suppose you have your plumbing issues and everything. So plumbing pipes were pre-installed in the slab. The one part you can see of the slab have been designed in such a way when you connect it on the side, the plumbing services also gets connected. The electrical services also gets connected. So it was a plug and play module. And also by the time, if you don't need one particular area of the thing, you can just simply remove it. Or if you want more in addition, like if you want one more bedroom, so there would be no restriction. You can plug and play that particular bedroom, and then services would be transferred to the area. This is the inside construction. So this is the output you can see. So this is what we made in just 11 days. This is 1800 square feet, and there were different kind of sponsors. This is a net positive house, and obviously self-sustainable as well, because uh, uh, it was supposed to be exhibited on the solar village for the next 10 years. So it's still in the China, and China has bought all the rights for the house. And then also there has to be one solar car, and that also has to be charged from the house only. So you cannot see any kind of grid. And this house also has to provide electricity to the nearby villages, because the place where we made this house is Dizhao, which is called the solar capital of the entire world. Even if they have a multi-specialty hospital of more than 700 beds, that would be powered with the solar. There would be no grid from the China government. The entire village, which is also, if I talk about the talk in the reference of India, it looks like a modern city, but there it is a village, was completely solar powered. So everything, the joints and the problems, the connections you can see, we designed each and everything on AI generated platforms. So at the site, because we just had 11 days, we did not have any single clash. Yeah, so this was Team Shunya. Actually, you can go to the website and check about the Team Shunya as well. Yeah, done.
So Yeah, thank you so much, Manish. And getting acquainted with artificial intelligence and machine learning has definitely expanded our horizons and exposed us to new construction techniques and materials. I now request the participants to please ask your questions, and you're welcome for discussions, if any. Architect Kanaka had basically posted some materials when you were talking about the materials which can be used for 3D printing. That is raw mud mixture and lime and natural clay.
Yeah. I asked because initially when the 3D printing started, there used to be only 3 materials that you can go with. Now there are endless materials that you can work with, because robots have no limits now, and they can print any single thing. They can even print glass.
So yes, any participant who has to ask any questions. I see Devang Parekh unmuted. Sir, would you like to ask some question? So okay, thank you so much, Manish, for this such.
I would like to give the answer of one question that was asked by Professor, I forgot the name, but to Mr. Vendra Kumar Malik sir, that where architecture is going, right? So he was suggesting that we need to equip ourselves more in the modern way. So there was a discussion regarding the design studio and the construction, how we can actually teach student about how they can gather more information from the construction, real site construction, to their architecture knowledge, and how you can incorporate that particular knowledge to their design studios. So I feel this, from my side, this is the answer where you can actually start exploring few of the side, that most of the architects are very settled in their own industry, like this particular industry. So they can actually start exploring the new ways of architecture, so that they can, they can provide the education to the upcoming generation as well. Because they have set their domain, and it's not, I feel that it's not intelligent way to go with the same kind of thing again and again. There has to be something new, so that you can pass to the new generation as well. So if you talk about the construction technology, you can actually bring the complete construction site to the classroom. And there is no harm. Nowadays we have holographic projection, we have many things, and these technologies are not expensive. Like if I talk about the 3D printer, it is available for 14,000 on the internet. So you can simply print small modules, and you can let them know the limitations of 3D printing, so that if they complete their education, if they are and then they become the capable of buying a very good 3D printer, and if they become capable of getting the professional services from the 3D printing services, so they can actually explain the client about going with the technology, and that would be more sustainable, more cheaper, and then more durable than the traditional thing.
Manish, if you don't mind, I do have a question. I saw a reference of parametric design in one of your slides. So could you talk to us more about the parametric modeling or parametric design? You being
Sure,
from the
ma'am.
new generation is actually a perfect person to explain this.
Yeah, because my parametric was not actually a need of the future, but the way we change our fashion, the clothing fashion and all, because we see someone else is doing something else, and then we try to adopt. In the similar manner, we find a lot many things technical wise, that it has more enhanced technology, and then we try to adopt. In the similar manner, most of the firm now have started asking for the student and for the professionals also to have some kind of parametric knowledge, and parametric knowledge we get through the softwares only. So there are some BIM platforms that you can start learning, and you can start teaching as well in your colleges, and it's not that difficult. And by teaching also, you start learning about it more. So there is Rhino and Grasshopper that you can start teaching to your student. There is Revit and Dynamo. So most of the Dubai based companies, they ask for Revit and Dynamo knowledge, because Rhino and Grasshopper still is a conceptualized software. It works on the concept basis like SketchUp. But Revit and Dynamo like AutoCAD, it has every single, specification. It is specified on each and every parameter. There would be zero chances of making any mistake and, generating any kind of clashes. If there are clashes, it would stop designing, or it would tell you that we cannot go further. So that is that particular thing we call parametric, where the parameters are involved. Like, parametric is not something which has a lot of curves. If you are designing a box and if you are giving a parameter, so imagine, like, if you are approaching a client and he's telling that I don't want my room to be 13 by 14. Now you need to tell him that, okay, I have to go to my office and then I'll be making, it would take more one day. Imagine that at the moment only you are changing the room size, and entire layout get changed accordingly, right? So that is there, that thing we call parametric, because we have provided the parameter. Like, if it gets shifted to this particular area, then the kitchen gets reduces. So we get the functionality, we get the requirement from the client. Like, if he doesn't want the kitchen to be bigger, if he doesn't want the living room to be bigger, then we can actually tell the machine that in case if any other room further increases, there has to be effects on the kitchen only. Every single part of the building should remain the same. So that thing is called parametric, where we provide parameters to the design. And then there are some platform. It's not about curves. There are some platform I was talking about. Revit is there, Dynamo is there, Grasshopper is there. Even the SketchUp is now moving towards the parametric platforms. So it's all the part of BIM, building information modeling, which is all AI.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Manish. I see there are a few questions in the chat box. So we can
Yeah.
those questions.
Yes, ma'am. So another question from architect Rachna Gala. Which are the softwares used for 3D printing apart from Rhino and Grasshopper?
You can go for the 3D printing with SketchUp also. And with the machineries also, you get some kind of 3D printing software. Then there is one software called Autodesk Steel that you can go for the 3D printing. Then there is one more software which is used for the mechanical engineers for making the screw and bolts, because they, for the prototyping, they print the bolts. Like, they won't be making the bolt in steel because that would be very expensive. If they are making some prototypes are always very expensive. So they initially design and 3D print the thing, and then they go with the major, in mass. So I'm not able to recall the name of that particular software, but it is mostly used for the 3D printing. It is used by the mechanical engineers.
Great. I hope, Rachna, that answers your question. We have another participant who has raised his hand. I would request you to please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hi, Mr. Manish. Thank you for sharing and broadening our cone of vision about AI and how it is applied and amalgamated with architecture, but and successfully representing India in the landscape circuit as well, along with Aniket sir. So my question to you is, you have specifically talked about building and how things are mapped. I wanted to know, what about site? How do you map the site, and how do we integrate AI with and integrate our site as well? I'm talking about in terms of site development.
Yeah, obviously. So the same technology have been used by only Norman Foster only. So they have somehow the same robot, Boston, with the Trimble, right? So they sent the robot, the building you saw, the completed building. Initially, it has a pre-video also with the empty site. So the robot walked, everywhere at the site and mapped the contours, right? Accordingly, it also took the samples from the ground of the earth and gave the sand reports, the earth report, that which foundation to go with on which areas, right? Those reports were very accurate, because let me tell you that construction industry is not new. We started from the Stone Age, and till now we remember that at that time leaves, leaves and branches and the rocks used to be the main construction materials. We know that we have in our mind, and we are upgrading. Now we have started molding the stone in different kind of shapes and modules, right? So we know that the basic material is stone, and now we are experimenting with the experiment with what else we can do with the stone. In the similar manner, the basic construction typology used to be the same. Now they have made their machine learn in such a manner that it has all the information from the past. So even if it is walking on the site, it would be knowing that there was some kind of mistake previously done on the particular site where it was not able to detect the thing and it made a mistake. Then the programmers developed the same mistake in such a manner that it doesn't get repeated again, right? So if you watch that pre-video of Boston and Trimble, you'll get to know that how it maps the site completely, how it tells, and not only mapping, it also erect the virtual structure on the site as well. So every single contractor would be able to see, and then it would be telling you the level, the catchment areas, right? The same robot.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you. That answers my question. Thank you.
Generally, when we go with the fear of an architecture student is contoured site, right? We get fear when we get to contour site, and also we want a contour site to be designed because that would somehow bring us in the category of landmark architects and can work towards our advertisement and everything, because contours is our fascination, also our scarcity, that how to go with. So what fears we have with the contour, that how we'll be able to decide the foundation, how I'll be able to manage the floor level, how we'll be able to provide that vista kind, where you are standing at this particular point and you are having the view of the entire area. So in the similar manner, when you know the machine, you know the software, you can, what you do, you design the complete thing in SketchUp, and then you try to look from the certain angle that you get the best view. Even if the building is not good, you present the client the best view, right? So imagine that you are presenting the client where he's standing at the site. This is called virtual reality, which is a part of AI. So he can walk around the site everywhere. That mapping is also, you are actually in that particular case, you are working as a Boston, where you don't have the technology, you are working as a Boston, you are making the model in SketchUp, you are making a model in Revit or making a model in Rhino. Imagine that you don't need to work that in that way. The Boston knows your construction typology, Boston knows your construction techniques, and it is initially giving you the layout. The similar manner, I just had 4 pictures and I made n numbers of museum layout interiorly. Now I can make one person sit and draw that thing. Or even if I have more technology, if I have more money to expand, for the expenditure, I can actually make, or I can actually learn, make my machine learn in a better way, so that it can generate the same module. So that is how we can use single machine at the multiple point when we start learning, when we start teaching the machine. So it's not the robot which only goes in interiors and map the layout. It's also the same robot which goes on the construction site and tells you that what kind of things are there. Even I was talking about the post construction, where debris and waste are there. So it will map the entire thing as well, and would calculate the weight, and would calculate also that how many trucks we need to actually throw this particular thing out.
So basically, from scratch to the
From
end
sketch,
of the,
yeah, from
from the
pre-cast,
pre to post completion, everything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, people have started using it.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the information.
So yeah, we have another speaker, another participant who has raised his hand. So you can ask your question.
Yes, it's a very wonderful presentation. I have a small question. We visited Norman Foster's Masdar city in Abu Dhabi with our student. And there we saw that the entire complex, the buildings and also the transportation system is integrated. And they have a solar farm and also driverless cars. So I had a chance to ride in one of those driverless cars. So when we are talking about the future scenario, most probably the buildings would be 3D printed, and then the cars would also be driverless. And all these are some things which might occur in future. My question is, sometimes mistakes can occur, complications can occur, and that time, how does the what does AI do there? Simple example: I'm riding this driverless car, okay, and on the road suddenly there is a school or something, and a number of students are crossing the road. and the speed, the car is going at a speed, and it has to apply brakes. Of course, all the information is there when to apply brakes and all that, but then the distance might not be adequate. Now the car has to take a decision whether to proceed with applying the brakes, or it takes a turn. Now, if it takes a turn in front, there might be a tree. So either it hits the tree or it hits the children. Now the decision to be taken is, suppose it hits the tree, then it will kill the owner who is sitting in the car. And if it hits the children, 4 or 5 children may die. So what type of decision will the car take? Will it kill the owner or the children? This ethical type of decisions will AI be able to solve? This is my question. I don't know whether it is correct or
Yeah,
not.
it is a very nice question. Maybe we can relate it to the construction while having the construction also, that what if one robot does some kind of mistake and end up killing some labor, right? So I'll be giving you a few example. Tesla made the driverless car, first driverless car, right, in the world, right? So it had one accident once, and then there was no not any single accident reported afterwards, because immediately they stop delivering all the cars, and then they start teaching their machine again. They start teaching their machine. Now Tesla is proposing the same car to launch in India. Now imagine the traffic of India. Now if the AI has the power, like obviously AI is not stronger than the human, it's more capable obviously, but not stronger than the human. But obviously they're going to tell that the human should not be killed, so ultimately it's going to hit the tree. But now imagine the car is also not a car, it is well equipped about having the knowledge of how to save the owner as well. So if it is hitting a tree, it would make sure that the owner inside the car is safe, right? It would somehow create. And now it's not just about the car. Now we are having the bikes which even hits the train, the driver would be completely covered by the balloon, right? From the helmet only the balloon would come out. So there are very less chances. And my question would be for you, that when you sat in the car, did you feel safe, felt safe or not? Like while sitting in the car, you were having some kind of doubts. You must be having some kind of doubts that what if
I was totally scared.
Yeah.
I was totally scared that the car would hit somewhere and I would die. So
yeah, but did you like, it did not hit, right? It somehow made you reach on the location safely.
Yeah, because it was going on a track which was around the complex, and there was no other traffic on the way. But in India, when the red light comes, everybody crosses the road. When the green
Imagine
light,
the learning.
so nobody follows traffic rules. So how this AI cars will react?
The same thing would happen to any of the manual driver as well. India has the more accident without AI self driverless cars than the driverless cars than the manual cars, right? So there would be many of the cases that you will be seeing every day on the newspaper, that the car hit to someone while someone else was driving, and not by the mistake of the owner, by the mistake of someone else only. So there is no solution to the particular thing, but still somehow we can control the entire thing in certain limitations, right? That maybe it would indicate. Just imagine that you drive, like I drive a very normal car, which is very normal, S-Cross, right? Still, it would tell me that I'm hitting at the backside. While I'm taking the back, it would tell me that I'm hitting the backside. If some car is crossing nearby to me and it cross, with the minimum distance, it would indicate me that from the left side, something has passed. If the rain is coming over the car, the sensor would start, the wiper would start automatically. So the technology is improving. By the next 10 years, you will be having the cars which would be fully equipped to even, go for the test drive or for the drive on the Indian roads as well. Because by the time everyone would be having the technology, if I talk about 20 years back, it was taboo for a normal person to have a, touch mobile phone. Now, even you see a beggar, if you see a child, everyone would be having a smart mobile phone. So the same similar manner, by after 10 years, you would be having all fully operated vehicles everywhere. So upgradation with the technology doesn't come with one single person. Everyone would be updating. That is why we always choose the right time. So most of the architect, most of the contractor, they have found out the right time of going with the technology, and they have made the domain, they have made their USP in that. It's not very unusual. It's not rocket science. Everyone is using the technology, but just we don't know. That's why we cannot use. parametric in India has become a taboo. Everyone wants to learn, but not able to because we don't have tutors to teach. And then if you go outside, every single person from the 12th standard is doing the parametric. So I felt that this is not something very unique. It is very common. It's just we don't want to adopt because we are very familiar with making the money from the standard, from the standards that we are following from the last 20 or 30 years. Imagine I am at a very normal level and I'm doing all this kind of outputs. There are thousands of people who have the knowledge, and imagine what they are doing. There are very less number of architecture students who are practicing architecture outside India. They are actually exploring the other fields because they know that the recession would hit for sure, and then there would be less jobs in architectural education. So they are exploring other fields. They are making clientele for the towards the architects only. So you would be his next client and he would be telling you that alone I can generate. And I have done as well. Like I went to one client and he asked me to design the layout and he gave me only 3-4 hours because he was in a hurry. So I just made a bubble diagram, and the bubble diagram I made was in coding and it generated the same layout because the amount you pay, is proportionate to the time you give to me. So if you pay me less, that would be only 5 or 20 minutes. That particular duration, it took me only 7 minutes to generate a floor plan, and that has furniture and everything. But the coding I took from the internet, I put the requirement, I put the bubble chart and made the floor plan. So it is by the time we'll be upgrading, and for sure there would be driverless car everywhere. Now we have the driverless parking function in the cars. So it would take time for sure. India is not Dubai now, but it would become.
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Manish. We are running out of time. You can post in your email ID and phone number in the chat box so the participants can reach out to you on that.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.